When I initially reviewed this webcam, the Elgato FaceCam Pro, I ultimately did not recommend it for a few reasons. It launched at $300 and I just didn't find the image quality to be good enough based on that price. But the number one problem that I have with the Elgato FaceCam Pro, and I talked about this in all my comparisons of the webcam to other webcams and in the main review, is just the colors were off. Sometimes it looked pretty decent depending on your lighting scenario, but something that was consistent was reds, magentas, like the color of like my hands, the palms of my hands, my lips, my eyelids. Sometimes I'd have red stuff in the background. All the reds, magentas, violets, purples, that would all just be really off. And even browns, sometimes they'd have a little bit of a green tinge to them. But Elgato released a firmware update to the FaceCam Pro, which you can get in Camera Hub, and that improves the colors drastically. My skin tone is so much better. And this isn't just because it's in YUI2 over MJPEG. This is actually still in MJPEG right now. 4K, 60 frames per second. I'm extremely impressed with this improvement. I would have made a video on this earlier, but I was just waiting for some sort of Elgato announcement. Oh, we improved the colors of the FaceCam Pro, but I didn't really see anything. I had to find this like random Twitter post from someone who works at Elgato that I just stumbled across. And that's how I learned that this was even out. I did test this while it was in beta, but I didn't say anything publicly about it, of course, because it's in beta and I don't really have any liberty to do that. But the colors are really good on here. In fact, let's go ahead and compare it to the webcam that I have deemed the best webcam on the market right now, the Razer Keo Pro Ultra. Now, this is the Razer Keo Pro Ultra, and one of the things that you'll notice probably even before the colors is the shallow depth of field that it has, also the frame rate difference. So there's one more thing as well, is that the field of view is a lot more narrow. So let's go ahead and go over all of these. So it's a lot tighter of a shot. It's a lot choppier looking of an image because it's at 30 frames per second. This is at 4K 30 right now, and it's at MJPEG. But the background is a lot more blurred out and the field of view is a lot narrower. So that combines to make it so that it's not as cluttered looking of a room. The colors are really good on this device. They're a little different than the FaceCam Pro. Let's go ahead and put these side by side actually. So if we're looking at my skin tone first, the FaceCam Pro leans a little bit more on the like greenish side as far as the brown goes in my skin. It's not super off, but it does have that little bit of that extra tinge that might not really need to be there, but it's way, way, way better than it was before. Now the Razer Keo Pro Ultra, that one leans a little bit too red. So these are just kind of like just off center just a little bit, you know, just one's a little bit too red, one's a little bit too green, but for webcams, they look amazing. They are not quite on the level of my Sony ZV-1, but these are doing a great job. And I cannot say that the FaceCam Pro does not have good colors anymore. That's just not a thing anymore. The colors are actually very, very good. I think my lips look great in both of the devices. They're not like that crazy hot pink that they were in the Elgato FaceCam Pro before. My hands are looking great. They're looking very natural. The pink from this chapstick, it's a lot better than it was before. This was like a crazy magenta before on the FaceCam Pro. Now let's go to some like harder colors. This is probably the hardest color that I've ever had like to try to get replicated. This is a teal. This is more of a sea green aqua. Like if you ever use that like green teal Nintendo DS, I think it's the 3DS that looks like that. It's very hard to get this on camera, even if you have like a phone or even a Sony ZV-1, you have to use a very specific color profile to get this accurate. And both of these have these about the same. Well, actually looking back with the video completely rendered, the FaceCam Pro actually does a lot better job of making it more of that kind of green, sea green, instead of just the sky blue that's on the Razer Keo Pro Ultra. So that's actually a win for the Elgato FaceCam Pro. This right here, PS4 controller, and it looks pretty similar. Like if I didn't tell you which one was which, then you might not be able to tell. Another thing that you'll notice, since the Keo Pro Ultra is on the right, you can see it's not doing as good of a job when it comes to autofocus as the Elgato FaceCam Pro, which the FaceCam Pro actually used to be really terrible when it comes to autofocus. It's a lot better. It's still not perfect and it can still be slow, but it's way snappier than it used to be. And the Razer Keo Pro Ultra just kind of gets lost and doesn't know what's going on. And yeah, so that's actually the only reason that I don't use it for my primary reviews, is because I hold a lot of stuff up to the camera and then take it back. And that's just not going to work with the Razer Keo Pro Ultra. I need something that's really snappy when it comes to that, which is why I still use my Sony ZV-1, because it has a product showcase mode. I'll go ahead and link this page that you can go to get the FaceCam Pro's firmware update, and then it will give the explanation of how to install this. This is in the 1.5.2 or newer. However, I will say that I had massive problems with 1.6. It just wouldn't work. I restarted my computer multiple times, uninstalled it, reinstalled it. It just would not detect my Elgato FaceCam Pro. So personally, if I was updating, then I would get 1.5.2 unless they can fix the issue with 1.6 or whatever version that they're using right now. But that one does have the firmware update for the improved autofocus and colors on the Elgato FaceCam Pro. So here's the thing, if you have the Elgato FaceCam Pro already, or if you've already ordered one, then I highly recommend updating to this firmware because the colors just look so much better. And again, Elgato, you all have done a great job with this firmware update. Now, if you have not bought the Elgato FaceCam Pro and you're looking into it, would I buy it? Personally, I still believe the Razer Keo Pro Ultra is a better webcam. Colors are good on both. Shallow depth of field is on the Razer Keo Pro Ultra. Low to moderate light performance is a lot better than the Razer Keo Pro Ultra. I already compared those devices. But even in good lighting, there's a lot less grain in the Keo Pro Ultra. But one limitation is this is only doing 4K 30 frames per second, and the Elgato FaceCam Pro can do 4K 60 frames per second, so it's just so much smoother. But if you want a webcam that looks a lot more like a traditional mirrorless camera or DSLR, like the Sony ZV-1, Sony ZV-E10, something like that, the Razer Keo Pro Ultra gets a lot closer to that look. Whereas the Elgato FaceCam Pro has more of the image quality of something like a GoPro, where it can get you a very wide shot, it can get you 4K 60 frames per second, but there is going to be a lot of grain and there's not going to be that shallow depth of field.